Popcorn Ready podcast. We got some stuff we gonna talk about today. We gonna bring some real relationship, male, feminine energy in the building today, and we gonna see where it all just lands at the end of the show. Because there's a lot going on even before we even started taping.
Wow.
That's all you got to say is wow.
Wow. I mean, man, before we really start rolling, I mean, it was already rolling and already popping.
It's popping. And
man, I am honored to be.
Words in my mouth already over here.
He will tend to do that from time to time.
Keep it real with y'all
let's see what else you can.
I'm going to try not
put
to
in his
sell
mouth.
out to y'all today.
Okay,
Paul.
we have a special guest, a good friend of mine, Jennelle Gordon.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yes,
for having me, y'all.
This is definitely. I'm known for being out of the box, but this is definitely out of the box for us today.
This is out of the box.
I mean, no pun intended.
No
out of
pun
the box.
intended.
And I'm talking about. Man, good friend of mine. We share a mutual friend who passed a few years ago. We'll get into that in some Isadora. But let's get into you. A Tantra intimacy coach.
Yes.
Okay.
A sexpert, as they like to call me.
AKA sexpert.
Yes.
A sex expert.
So do you have to have a lot of sex to be a sexpert? What is the definition?
Yeah, how'd you get your credentials?
How do you get the title of sexpert?
Because you didn't go to college for it. I know that.
I mean, one would probably assume that I'm a sexpert. I have 5 kids. He has none. So, you know what I mean?
You are failing right now.
Oh, you're failing.
See that? You see what I'm saying, people?
You told me
because
that
somebody
I said
try to
he
do right
wasn't
in life,
alpha.
she gonna call me a failure. You lucky I got some self-confidence. So let's get back to your sex expertise that you don't have a degree in, but you want to say you are one. So
I do.
Dang it! I'm okay. Then I'm all.
So
I'm
basically,
in the wrong
my education comes through a lineage that goes about 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 years.
Okay.
Some had the same. We had different lineages, but the same type of education, if you will. If you know anything about yoga, which probably what you know is hot yoga or the stuff you do.
Have you been to yoga before?
I've been to yoga.
Yeah.
It hurt me bad. It hurt me really bad.
First of all, it should never, in the beginning, it should never hurt.
Most teachers don't really know what they're doing.
It should never hurt. That means you need to continue to go.
I know.
But all yoga comes from a few different lineages. So what you see in the studios today, it's really, it's
the
been
mild version.
Yeah, and it's been like very much so, what's the word I'm
watered
looking
down?
for?
Structured.
Yeah, and sold, but so yoga comes from a lineage. Tantra is under that lineage. And basically I went and studied with masters for a year in Thailand as well as in India, so I'm studying India as well. So that's where I got my education, and it was actually a lot of personal development work, but there was a lot of the woo-woo stuff that I know we talked about in the beginning, the metaphysical stuff. A lot of men don't necessarily gravitate towards intimacy because they're like, intimacy, like sex, yes, but intimacy and sex are not the same thing.
Right.
Okay, let's stop right there. Intimacy and sex is not the same thing.
Yes.
But there's also different definitions of intimacy.
Yeah,
That's the
emotional, physical, mental, spiritual, sexual.
Right.
But most people will say like, we were intimate. It's like, oh, you were close?
Like,
and then they're like, what do you mean? Like they get all weirded out.
There's like a union of some sort, like a close encounter.
Correct.
So for I guess for men, I think that's obviously when you talk about relationships, that's probably one of the top 2 things of why sometimes relationships don't work. I'm sure obviously there's communication, things of that nature, but obviously sometimes intimacy, sex obviously can factor into broken relationships, marriages.
Well, it's the number 2 reason. It's
number 2. Number 1 is finances. Number 2 is
and number 2 is sex.
Yes.
Yeah. So sex and money, and basically my work deals with sex, money, and God.
What about paid sex?
That's me.
That's both, right?
That's a profession.
Wait,
that's a profession.
I mean, y'all talking about those the two.
Maybe is that the answer?
The 2 factors.
Would that be the answer?
The answer is paid sex.
Is that the answer? Is that the answer to all relationships?
Paying your wife for sex or what?
Or are you paying? Again,
But you
hence-
are paying though. in
No,
a
you're
way.
not. No, you're not. Just be.
It's a way.
'cause
It's like-
we always have this conversation, right? If you go out to dinner with a female and you pay for dinner, oh, you are paying for sex. No, you're not. That's illegal. Number
Ooh,
one.
boy, this conversation gonna
Number
go
one,
so many
right?
places. We
But
got to stay
number
on
two,
track.
It's not a true thing.
What are you
because
paying for then?
dinner, food, for something to go in your belly so you can nourish your
Yeah,
body.
with the
to move on
idea,
the
let's
rest of
just
the
be
day.
honest. I'm not saying
So
it's
with the
good, bad, or
idea-
the idea that you're going to get laid at the end of
No,
the night.
nobody.
So you've never
So you
done
don't
that.
get laid
Okay,
then.
see here.
I'm just
first,
asking.
no, first of
we're
all,
asking a question.
I'm going to answer your question, but you ain't going to be doing this to me all gosh dang.
No, I'm not. I mean, I'm subject to ask
You're
questions as
I want you to
well.
answer this afterwards.
Okay.
What you females fail to realize is no, we don't always want your sex.
True.
Want your sex. Oh my
Because
God. How
you
do
guys are, if he taking me to dinner, he go do all this before he get this cookie at the end of the, like, we don't want your cookie. We chilling today.
Yeah, I understand that. And that's okay too. I think I'm with you on a lot of the times. Most of the times, actually, I'm on the anti-feminist panel on a very big show. I just said, like,
She's
I'm
kinda
not
on our side a little bit.
Yeah, I am on your side. I'm actually on guys' side. I do think that women expect way too much out of men and they don't give them shit, you know? So trust me, like I vouch for men so much that a lot of women hate me.
Wow, yeah.
But I'm willing to do that because I think it's for the greater good. So a utilitarianism at its finest, right?
Right,
okay.
Like, yeah.
You're telling your truth from your perspective, obviously.
I just
because
feel
we
like-
don't, as men, we don't hear females on our side many times, so we just think, oh, you're just lying to yourself. Like, no, females, you're telling the truth. It's just from your perspective.
So speaking of your perspective and you being an anti-feminist or what have you, when you talk about sex and intimacy, obviously a lot of relationships, they obviously, you know, they part ways because of, you know, there's this idea of, you know, women sometimes, you know, giving guys maybe second, third chances if they cheat or what have you. And there are those that it's a deal breaker.
Yeah.
But what is your thought on if you were dating someone, guy, what have you, and he cheated? Where would you stand on the fact that okay, he cheated? You being the sexpert that you are, you knowing that okay, he was just having sex and it wasn't intimate.
Yeah.
You
There's
know
no
what I mean?
love involved.
Right.
Yeah.
So he was just. I mean, to be
That's just
blunt,
what it
he was
was.
just getting it off.
some.
Yeah.
You know, he's getting his
Yeah.
rocks off.
I understand. So for me, one of my most viral videos is actually this, where I was on a valuetainment show and I just said, you know, I want women to understand that it's not, the grass isn't greener on the other side. Like if he cheats, you should stay. Like that's literally the title. And it went crazy and I got so much hate from women.
Right.
They hated me. But people think that what I do is so esoteric and out of this world. And a lot of it is for me personally, but I understand that's not for everyone.
Have you ever been cheated on and stayed?
I have.
Okay.
And here's why. Because at the time I was dating someone who his market value in a lot of areas was really freaking high. And I understood that he felt a lot of pressure.
That's tough.
He felt a lot of pressure.
Let's stay right there because what if his market value wasn't high? That's what we're trying to get to the point.
But here's the thing: who's the you know the measure of that? But
Right,
you
who's
have to
the
understand
decider
that
of the value. of-
80% of women are sleeping with 20% of the men. It's
Facts.
just statistically proven.
Facts.
So women don't say I would never share my man. And I always tell most women, you probably are in an open relationship. You just don't know it.
Wow.
You just don't know it. And that's okay.
And we're not talking husband-wife material at this moment.
I'm talking any relationship.
Wow.
Because I work with men, women, and I work with that are married. I work with all the
Engaged,
spectrums.
all across the board,
So
yeah.
I hear it from all. I hear the men coming to me when they're stepping out or they want to step out or they have or they've done massage parlors or this or that. But I think it's fascinating to women have to be realistic and see if the man is high value and you have like you're married or you guys have children or you have a business together or you have something that you're, co-creating together. I'm about the family unit staying together at all costs. I don't believe in divorce unless it's, harm. There's a physical harm or you're harming the children because the aggression is too much for the children to see.
Well, I would say that I think that 80% of the women don't understand a high value man. I don't think that, what they think, like, I want an entrepreneur, I think he should do this. I think they don't understand that every man doesn't make over $100,000.
They don't.
So they're thinking, I just want my guy to make $500,000 and be 6'3" and look like Hatch. Like, everybody can't do that.
Well, what determines
You're hilarious, by the way.
What determines
Where'd you
the
find
value?
this guy?
So that goes back to the reality. It comes from the female perspective of how realistic are they being to even understand what a high value man is.
Most women just have like a checklist of things that they want, but then they have.
Our whole thing is say, get off the checklist. Throw
Yeah.
your stinking checklist away. If you want to be happy and find a
The
mate,
average of
throw
the
your
women
checklist
finding
away.
that checklist of guys over 6 foot,
Right.
6 figures, six
Right.
pack, not married. I always say 6 pack, meaning like not overweight, not married,
right.
6 inches or more, whatever. Like
Right.
we always say the sixes. Like,
Oh, that's a
it's-
thing? I didn't know that's a thing in the girls' world. The
Yeah.
sixes?
Oh, yeah.
Like in
we're
the
go-
red pill community. Like
we're,
it's
we're,
really
we're
big.
gonna
Red
we're gonna
pill.
yeah, we're gonna get into that. But obviously, like I said, we're talking about the criteria.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
You know.
But then women want to ask for all that, and it's one of my other crazy viral videos. And then what they bring to the table is essentially another man, and then they don't understand why a man
Themselves
doesn't
being
want
the
to
man,
pick
not
them.
another physical
yeah.
man. Right.
So, for instance, one of my crazy, like my most viral video of all times, like it's still going to this day. I was on a podcast with this woman, and she was very successful. She was from Miami. Multiple 6 figures, self-made, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, I've been married and I'm divorced, 10 years or whatnot. And then she's like, yeah, I want my man to have everything I said, right?
Right.
But she's like, I'm going to still have my business. I'm not going to stop. I'm not giving anything up for any man. Yeah. And I basically said, you don't look like you get jobs. And she got mad. Mm-hmm. And I said, basically she's like, I'm not putting out and he's going to be loyal to me and we're going to have kids. I'm like,
she's a dominant. She's a dominatrix, it seemed like.
She's a unicorn.
No, that's
she
what most
definitely ain't.
women,
Look,
a lot of
definitely-
women today are expecting men to just accept them as these like CEO boss babes. And there's nothing wrong with being successful.
Right,
But they're
absolutely
not
not.
willing to like bring anything into the table from the feminine side of being nurturing, being
You
submissive,
got to be
being
all those things.
surrendered,
You got to be both.
being receptive. None of those. So I'm like, you basically are another guy
Another dude, yeah.
and you're wanting a guy to marry you. That's not going to,
No, because
maybe
we need
some
the
beta
traits.
male will take that.
Yeah, but we need the traits of, when you get home, I'm not your employee anymore. You are the boss, CEO at the office, which is great. But when you get home, you don't have to really change, but you do have to fall in line of, like you said, the matrimony of the household.
Yeah.
Again.
Your lineup's very nice. Is it just new?
Thank you. Yeah, I just got my hair cut
noticed it.
today because I wanted to look
I dated 2
representable.
barbers last year, so I'm very keen on all this stuff.
So you dated 2
unfortunately.
people in 1 year?
Well, like the
is that-
year before was one, in the last 2 years.
Is
2
that a lot
barbers.
for a female or not a lot for a female?
Well, one was just
I didn't ask.
strictly,
I said, is
no,
2 a lot or is 2 not a lot?
I think it's not a lot. One was just a spiritual thing. We didn't have sex at all. We just like meditated and did yab yum.
you call that dating someone? Are you guys in a relationship even though you're not having sex?
Yeah.
Interesting. Right. So there's 4 classes of Tantra. So would that fall your relationship that you had with a guy that wasn't sexually?
It wasn't sexual. Yeah.
Would that fall under one of the 4?
Yeah. I mean, I think Tantra is, people get it. When most people think of Tantra, they think of what?
Yeah, tell it. I don't know.
Sting. Do you remember Sting and his wife? They came out and they talked about having like hours and hours of
I know it's
sex.
music because I sing it all the time, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know about his Tantra.
So, like, he knows.
Scottie Pippen and Larsa, I mean, from what we know, they had sex 4 times a day.
Yeah, there you
Every
go.
day for
and,
like 23
That's
years.
a lie.
and see how
That
that
is a lie.
see
But
how
I mean,
that
it may
lasted.
explain why his back was hurting in the playoffs. Remember the year? I'm just saying for real. You remember the year that his back
Oh my God.
about to go out a couple of times? Like, it really pissed me off because I'm like, bro, we need you. Like,
It pissed me off because she out here telling that
my
lie
God,
and thinking
you
that a
guys.
high value man now needs to have sex 4
well,
times
how is
a
it
day.
a lie when he hasn't really come out to
deny it. Well, who's going to deny that? Like, he
there was
probably
no
wants
rebuttal
other.
of any sort.
I cannot.
He probably wants other women to know he's kind of like.
4 times a day. That's a lie, though.
Well, okay, so for
But
Tantra,
she said it. Usually, it would be the guy.
I agree.
Usually,
I
it would
agree.
be the guy in this case.
I agree.
But it's her. So I think there may be a sliver of credibility here.
You think Larsa Pippen has credibility behind her name?
I mean, at some point.
well, why are people mad at her?
Interesting.
Because she went after some young guy now. Like, what's wrong with that?
There-
Here's the thing that I feel like is
No,
so,
you want to know what's wrong with that?
Yeah. Who is she dating? Someone's
I don't
son,
want to
some
have. I
athlete's
do
son.
not.
This
wanna have
Michael
this
Jordan's
discussion.
son.
Okay, what's
who
the
Michael Jordan played a number of years with, and at some point, little Michael, what is it,
upset.
Jeffrey? Is it which one is it?
Marcus.
Marcus.
Yeah.
Marcus was running around on the court.
How old is this guy? Is he an adult?
Yeah, well, he's an adult
he's
now.
30.
Okay, so
But
here's
he's-
my.
But just
She's
looking,
60.
right? But I'm looking at she's. I'm just trying to. I'm thinking of the dynamics
Can we
of this.
not talk about women? This like the expiration of
I'm
women.
just
This is the thing
thinking
I
of it.
will and I don't like.
We're not gonna
Because-
have. We're not gonna have a Larsa Pippen conversation. That's
I'm
what
not.
we're
I'm not
But it
defending
kinda
her.
touches
even,
on
I don't
where
really.
we're
that's
going.
what I hate.
It
But
is,
that's what
though.
makes me upset.
It touches on
Because-
what we're
I agree.
discussing
It really
today.
agree.
Because the Tantra is about the worshiping of the divine feminine. Notice I said divine feminine. There's not very much divine femininity in the world, period. Like, my goal in this
So
life
what's
is
divine femininity?
femininity. You're like, let me first say that word. It's like feminine.
Because I don't know.
I don't know what that
want
is.
everybody that is listening.
Yeah.
They probably like me. I'm like, what's divine femininity?
Divine femininity is, it's a state of being. It's a place where you're so connected to the, like, I don't know, I can't say God because some people don't believe in God.
Like a higher,
to a higher
yeah,
power or
yeah.
source that has you so rooted in the essence of your feminine power that that's what you exude. And what is femininity? It's receptivity. It's being surrendered. It's being submissive. Women hate those words. The 2 S's. You say surrender and submission, they're like,
Girl, I ain't gonna be submissive. No, that.
and who are willing to just receive you. When is the last time a woman was just like, I don't want to fight with you. I'm just here to serve you.
So what do you do? What are your practice?
You're like, damn, like, I don't know.
So what is your practice to make
To embody that.
Tantra
Part of.
accepted, receptive?
Receptive.
Right.
So what I do in my retreats is basically I take singles and couples both. They come, and it's weird how it shows up. Sometimes we'll have like 3 or 4 couples and then 3 or 4 singles. It always just
It
happens
varies.
weird. People are like, just make it couples. I'm like, no. Because what happens is the couples will come and then the singles will come with, I want to be married, right? And the couples are, I don't want to be
Get
married.
both
They wanna be
perspectives.
And then
single.
you get, exactly. And then you get the perspective. And then the single people are like, damn, it's not so bad over here, and vice versa. So I really like that I have that balance. And what I do is I really, for the first time ever, I get people really f***ing vulnerable. And that's a scary thing for
That is
men
scary.
and women. For men, because you're not allowed to be vulnerable.
Yep.
You have to go out into the world every f***ing day with your shield on, your sword, and you have to go home and bring home the bacon, bring home the money while defending yourself, your children, your name. And when you come home, that's finally the place where you can take it off, right? Women, they've been told not to be vulnerable because if you do that, a man's going to take advantage of you.
Yeah.
And you don't need a man anyway. We run the world. Thank you, Beyonce. But, cute song and all this
Who's
stuff.
married, booed up with kids,
All this.
and
If you listen to all, if you really like,
They're
this is
ju-
why
it's
I don't
just
listen.
music. It's
I don't
just
listen
music.
to anything.
Yeah.
Like my vessel is like, phew, because it's all programming you.
Absolutely.
And when my son was born, I sure as many to show he didn't get any programming,
Right.
like that I did not want him to have.
Right.
And so it was like the highest of vibration. And when he came into this world, he was lucid. He was standing up the first day, like the first week of his life. He was just so strong because I programmed his brain exactly to what I wanted. So back to the retreats, I bring these people, I get them vulnerable for the first time, and then I do something really crazy. I just help men to see women as this like divine essence of energy to be worshiped, and vice versa. Women to really look to their men as God.
And so how do you do that? Like
with certain practices. So like yab
like
yum.
just in the most simplest form,
Okay.
obviously, like I said, not to be so long-winded.
Yeah.
In the simplest form, explain what
So we'll do, again, when he said there's no feminine, we do polarity exercises that build the masculine and feminine energy in one setting. So for instance, the pinnacle of the retreat and of the practice is yab yum. It's the cosmic embrace. And so
Yab yum.
if you go on my Instagram, you'll see a lot of yab yum. It's when the man sits in lotus, yes, and the woman sits on his lap,
Facing
and she
this way?
she puts her legs behind him.
Okay.
And then if you believe in chakras, which you probably don't, but you probably understand them.
Chocolate?
chakra, right?
Chakras, right? Your
Chakra,
energy
the third
centers.
eye, right? Something similar, yeah.
So like you guys are all energy, whether you know it or not. You're in nice physical human forms, but if you just rub your hands together from the very simple basic thing, if you rub your hands together faster, faster. Now close your eyes and then just stop, but keep them together and then slowly pull them apart. And then back and forth. You'll be able to feel something activating between them. And it's just energy. It's your energy body. Now you might have to take it a little longer, but
You have to really
Go there.
Yeah.
This is definitely probably not the right setting.
yeah. But
do
so
that.
your energy. So the energy centers start at the very base of the body, which is the perineum. And the perineum sits between the anus and the testicles for men. That's your vital energy. That's like when you're out on the field and you're tired, whatever, you've had a long night, kids, whatever, you're tired, but there's like another level in you that's just like this, like, for women, it's childbirth.
You
We're
get it
just-
from your booty hole?
Basically, yeah. That's
So-
correct. Not
Listen.
Jeez, man, but like,
This is why I'm going to fight that, if you will.
Okay.
Because to me, it's more mental.
So he's coming from an athlete.
Yes.
Okay.
If I go to my most focused times I've ever been where the crowd is quiet or whatever those things are for athletes, to me, so you're saying it's not from here?
it's not mental. There is a chakra here. So the chakras start from the perineum, and then the second is your sex chakra, if you will. And then it goes with the elements too. So it goes earth, water, fire, air. And so then fire is here. You're probably really predominant on fire. You're a Sag, right?
I am.
So you're really fire. You're strong fire. You're a fire sign, and you have on the field. Everyone knew who you were, right? You weren't just a player that no one really
I
knew.
was the extrovert on the field.
So it's
Off
the
the field,
difference
introvert.
between why you've heard probably some amazing vocalists, but they don't really ever go anywhere, right? And then people she was my era, and not dissing her, just Brittany, right? Not the best vocalist, but performer, right?
Absolutely.
It's just here. It's this chakra. It's charisma. And then the last one
tough
is
for me to
here,
agree
and
with.
the element is
Yeah.
heart chakra. We call it heart chakra. It's the center of the chest.
Right.
And then they go up from here, here. And the guys, I'm wearing my bindi here. And the guys men tend to be more predominant in these because you guys are more connected to the cosmos. The women, feminine, are more connected to the earth energy. That's why we bear children. So it makes sense. It's a yin and yang.
Do you believe in God?
I do.
Is this?
I believe-
Because to me, it sounds like if I were to sit with someone who's a huge Christian, they would probably disagree with some of the things you're saying.
They would disagree
That's
with
what I was-
probably most of the things I say.
Really?
I grew up very faith-based. I grew up as a pastor and missionary's daughter.
Okay.
So I understand the Bible, can quote it quite profoundly.
Right.
So I do believe in God. I don't believe in religion. I believe that religion has
Yeah.
given control to people that are just searching for something to grab a hold of. I believe that we are God in our own way. In the Bible, it says, "I am in you, I'm my beloved, you are mine," and where God lives, love is God, and God is love, and all the things that say that. So I believe that we all are God in our own light. And even if you go deeper into the Bible, it says all these things that you have done, that I have done, you will have the power to do even more. So to answer your question, long story short, is I put them in these really intense like activities that get them to just men to be present and women to surrender. And when you have those kind of intimate experiences, like people just come alive because they've never had anything like that. They've had tons of sex maybe, or a little if they've been lucky.
So you don't
Like
coach
you,
them.
maybe.
You don't coach them to have sex. You coach them and then you let them have sex.
Sex is like the very last lecture of the day. I do.
So the basis of it is
a
what
union
I
practice.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
Took the words right out of my mouth. It's more of a connection.
Yep.
A union.
Yep.
And it was Yebyum.
Yabyum.
Yebyum.
Yeah.
So with this, like I said, these are people that have never experienced this. This is their first time, or these are repeat.
Some people come repeat. I have repeat offenders. They love it. They come every, year just for a tune-up, or they'll come alone, then they'll bring their partner. Because it's intimacy is an inside job.
Absolutely.
It's a job that you have to do alone.
So obviously we're talking intimacy, obviously sex, obviously there's two different things.
Yeah.
Obviously for women, size matters. Does it or does it not? So with your
Yeah.
practices,
Yeah. This is a great question.
does
I love
size
this.
matter? Because if it's all about a connection and a union, does someone, okay, you meet a partner, you date, becomes your husband, whatever the case may be, and he's not physically gifted,
Physically gifted. Oh
do
my
you
God.
continue to be with this guy? Because like I said,
Yeah, this is your life. Life
Right.
is a long time, right? We
right.
have
So do
many
you,
modern.
how do you compensate for the lack of? If
Okay,
you will?
that's a great question.
Good question, T.
Yeah, I love that question.
Give them that. Make sure we get the claps on the thing.
Whatever. Get your popcorn ready. Hey, I was ready for this show
Real.
today.
So yeah, size does matter. So to answer your question about what I teach, I do teach intimacy and union. That's at the heart of what I teach. What I teach is a spiritual practice.
Right.
If I advertise it as that, nobody's going to come because nobody cares. So me advertising it as this is going to help your sex life, that's true, and I do teach sex as a huge part of the tantric path. Tantra is just a huge path. There's so much to it. I have been studying this for over a decade, 11, 12 years. I haven't even scratched the surface, as my teachers have been studying it 40, 50 years, right? But the sexual aspect is a huge component. So the tantrics believe that basically we have a certain amount of life force that we have gifted to us. And then one day that life force goes away and we go away, right? We don't die, but we go somewhere else, to be determined where, right? So we call that ojas, O-J-A-S.
Ojas.
Men lose ojas every time they ejaculate. So one of my practices is I teach men how to separate orgasm from ejaculation. It's a you've probably heard it called semen retention. It's a whole practice that most people get wrong on YouTube. So do not just go on YouTube looking to do this, because a lot of times they don't know what they're talking about.
Well, that's why you're here.
Yes.
So you can educate.
So I don't have to
So-
go on YouTube and find out about
Right.
OJ.
So
So
you
back-
can help
so
him
I can-
ejaculate or orgasm properly.
OJ Simpson. Oh my God. So
We're gonna
to
start
answer your
calling it
question,
OJ.
does size matter? We take that as a part of the sexual practice of what I teach.
Okay.
We take from the Kama Sutra, which I'm sure you guys have heard of, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Kama Sutra is what, if you remember it or knew anything about it?
I don't know the definition. I've heard of.
I know the word.
term.
Yeah.
Just a sex manual,
sex term.
right? Yeah,
right.
yeah.
It's a
You're
sex
like
term.
it's a sex
It's a
term.
sex term, that's all I
Exactly.
know.
That's
under the
it.
umbrella of sex.
Right. So the Kama Sutra basically was like a manual that really helped married couples in India, because remember, married couples in India had arranged marriages. They still do, and it's still the most effective marriage today, believe it or not. Now, why does it work? Arranged marriages work in India today currently because it's a caste system. And so the marriages were not based on love.
Looks.
They were based on looks or anything. It was based on keeping cha-ching, money in the bank, keeping the money in the wealthy families. So these couples would meet. Obviously, they've never met. They've never seen each other. Most of them were still virgins, hopefully, because India was very sexually repressed. It was liberated, sexually repressed. kind of in the middle now, right?
So this is like really
Coming to America.
No, married at first sight. Before
Yeah,
married,
it is
married at
correct.
first sight.
Yep.
Just
It's
literally.
true.
Talk about a shotgun wedding.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's interesting though how some of them work, some of them don't. But basically, so you have two people never met, so they would give them this manual, the Kama Sutra. The Kama Sutra had a ton of sexual positions in it. Obviously, we know that. But it also had other things like how to have a long, happy, successful relationship, marriage, because they're like, this shit's gonna work. Period. The end. You know.
There's elements,
Yeah,
levels to
no f***ing divorce, so make it work, here you go. Literally. And so in the manual was something called the pairing of the different genital shapes and sizes. So in my retreat, we really go into this and we make it fun. So basically I say size does matter, but it's not necessarily size alone, it's the size paired with the other right size. So there's 3 sizes for men and 3 sizes for women. So for women, or for men, there's like 5 inches, 7 inches, 9 inches.
So that's like clothes, small, medium, and large.
Correct. Correct.
You can't do it. No.
What, dude?
You can't.
Essentially, that's what it
Or
is.
tall grande vente, right?
Right. So what would you rather? Would you rather
I'm
have
not
a number,
going to
or would
Starbucks.
you rather have it specified?
Do you want me to
I'm
tell
not
you
going to
what
Starbucks to get my
in the Kama
terminology.
Sutra,
Right,
in the
so would
Kama
you-
Sutra, they refer to it as animals, so at least this is nicer.
Right. So
Like,
where
what's
would
the
you?
what's the animal like
Stallion is the big one.
a stallion? Then
what about
The bull.
rabbit?
Clydesdale?
The class.
What about Clydesdale?
So now, so your goal is like the women, you want to match with the right woman because the woman's canal is like 5, 7, or 9 inches, you know, give or take, right?
Okay.
So it might not be that your partner is like
compatible.
It's just
Interesting.
It's not that he's not big enough or whatever. It's just that your sizing isn't matched the right way. So there are certain things you can do with certain positions, certain props, etc. Certain things energetically, but that's a whole nother practice. But it helps men feel more confident in what they were given.
And this is tantra.
This is Tantra taken from the Kama Sutra.
Okay, so can you have tantra without having sex?
Yeah.
Because
I
again,
mean,
the whole thing about this.
Yeah, because I think it's the practice.
That's what I'm saying. The whole thing about
Yeah, that's right,
what do
T.
you call it?
That's
The
correct.
weekend, whatever the day they're going to spend with you. It's like if they're going to keep coming
retreat,
back,
yeah.
the retreat. Is the retreat about having sex or is it about connecting, like you
it's
said?
about
Because
union, divine union.
Okay.
And in that, we I don't want to give people esoteric BS, right? Like that's not going to serve them. So we tackle the real stuff, like
Right,
sex.
right.
It's a huge thing in relationships. Most men don't get enough of it. Most women don't want to have it, but they don't
why
want
don't
to have
women
it.
want to have it? Why would you say?
because-
Why would you make that statement?
Well, because most women don't when they've been. Have you been married? Have you guys?
I have
been
not been married.
married? Okay. Well,
Have you been married?
I have not been married yet.
Okay, so I can't listen to you about this answer then.
Well, I work with a lot of married couples.
Yeah, but they don't count neither.
That's almost
do you-
like telling a therapist you can't listen to what she says.
Yeah. Most tantrics don't marry.
a therapist.
But I could recommend one for you, darling. Like a great one.
This is my therapist. When I call this guy.
I'm sure. So here's the reason. I actually work with a lot of women in my practice. Women, once they get married, something happens. It's like, I don't know how to say it. It's like,
I know exactly what you're
cha-ching,
saying.
Like,
It's-
I got the ring.
I'm comfortable. They get
Correct.
comfortable.
I'm going to get pregnant, so I'm going to seal the deal. And then a lot of women gain weight, right? After their kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I know women I've had one. I don't look any different than before I had them. I actually look better, thank God. But like, I know women that have had children that look better, and
Right,
a lot of women do not. They look worse, right? And then the next kid comes, just keeps adding on. So women don't feel good about themselves. Women aren't orgasming. Women have a lot of sexual trauma and shame that hasn't been dealt with. They don't know how to make their self orgasm, but then they expect you to.
Right.
So there's a lot of
So
sexual
would
stuff.
your retreats help them
Yes.
in a sense?
Correct.
So it'd obviously be sort of like therapy for them.
Yeah, we unpack a lot of these things that women are going through, and we help them work through it.
Because as an athlete, we let's say your dream comes true as a rookie, right? You get drafted, and then you go and you take care of your body like it's your job,
temple,
obviously.
right.
It's a temple, right? You're going to do everything every single day. And as a female, it seems like when they get married or they have their first kid, like that was their dream.
That's
but
correct.
You're saying mentally they do the opposite of what the athletes do. And that's why, to me, it's always harder for the athlete's, significant other to handle the divorce of the sport or the career harder than the athlete. Because we get done and we kind of like, okay, we did our thing, but we were focused during this thing. But the female's like, well, I still want to be on top. Like, you can't be on top anymore. Like, my career's over, your career's over. We always get that backlash of the athletes always getting divorced, and it's always our fault, and we're always going broke. But at the same time, we're like, well, the female's got a lot to do with that because she didn't know how to handle the career,
the nurturing
gone.
part of understanding,
Right.
Yeah.
The daily grind of what it takes to
The
be
discipline, all
to be
those
an
things.
athlete.
Yeah.
Yes.
Women are failing themselves because they've bought into the lie of feminism. They've bought into the lie that they don't need men anymore. And it's
and
truly,
that would be like woman or women empowerment.
I don't believe in empowering women. Women are empowered enough, too much. Like if I had a daughter, you don't even understand.
You're glad you had a son.
I would not let her be a part of anything that's like, you can, like, no.
Why is that?
Because it's toxic. Do you know in 10 years, there's going to be more single women on the planet, unmarried without children, than any other time in history? This is an epidemic.
I did hear that.
It's an epidemic.
And it's another thing.
And do you feel like that's because of this whole phenomenon or movement of women empowerment?
Correct. Women, and it's more than women empowerment because I know people are going to be whatever.
So I get the woman empowerment thing. So with that, what should I think that more women are not going to be happy?
At the end, I agree.
Yeah,
I would
at the
agree
end.
with that.
Because what is the
Single
I
women
get
are the least happiest demographic. Married men are the happiest.
really. Yeah. So I get the movement, and I understand women feeling and wanting to be equal to men.
But they're not equal, though.
They're not
That's
equal,
the thing,
though.
and that's the problem. I know you have daughters, so it probably hits you a little different, but they're not equal. It says, too much is given, much is required. Is that scripture? Or
Yeah,
I don't know.
that is. Yeah, that's in the scripture. Too much.
Because I say it so much, but I'm like, I think that's a scripture. I'm going to look up
So
the
what's the
verse.
biggest misconception about Tantra?
That it's just sex.
No,
That is
right.
just sex.
And that it's group sex. I have people that will
So
do...
that would be an orgy.
Correct. I have people that...
What? No,
That's not an orgy. No.
Well,
Tantra,
no.
right?
Not,
Like
she said that some people think that's
So
what it is.
you're teaching orgy classes is
I'm
what he
not.
just made it sound like.
I'm not. I have people straight up DM me and they're like, hey, I got my STI.
DM you,
Like-
not DN you.
No, DM me.
Okay. Make sure you
what was the last thing?
enunciate.
What was the last thing you said?
It
DN
sounded
you.
like you said
DN you.
I just can't with him.
I'm just-
Where did you find this guy?
I'm an idiot.
I saw him he ran into me at the airport, didn't even know him. And he
I
was
believe
like, yo.
Be careful, ladies.
He saw
at the airport.
he saw
He's
one of
running
my
around
highlights.
loose.
Well, we played it
What
around
is his sign?
Taurus.
Oh, that's
idiot.
why.
That's with the
That's
bull,
his
you get
sign
the
is
horns.
idiot.
He's supposedly like my best match, but I beg to differ.
Yeah, we're good people. Hardworking, loyal, very stubborn.
So back to your question,
Yeah.
where did I find him at? Yeah, we were at the airport. We were playing around the same time. And
You guys,
obviously-
this is literally true? You found him at the airport? I thought that was
Yeah, we
just
read
like,
it to you.
25 years ago.
Yeah, we played obviously different teams or what have you. He played on a team with one
a
of my
less,
adversaries.
a better,
one like,
worse team,
Better.
right?
A better.
No.
Which team?
Can't be better.
Vikings.
He played the Vikings, and
Best
at
offense
this time
ever
I
in the
was
NFL.
trending. My
Second
first
best
few
offense.
years, and he saw I was making a lot of highlights at this time, and he
No,
saw
don't
me
say
at the
he
air.
saw you making highlights.
He saw me, you know what I mean? So he was like, yo, he's like, oh, you're that guy. You're number 81.
That's hilarious.
And I'm like, oh, yeah. He's like, oh, yeah, I played with the Vikings. I played with Randy Moss. I said, oh, okay, cool.
I did not say I played
Yeah, he's like, I play with
It
Randy
sounds
Moss
like
on
he
the
remembers us
on the
pretty well.
on the
He might
bike.
be
He's
a
like,
little
I'm on the
starstruck.
Vikings.
Oh
He
my
say,
God.
I'm on the
I
Vikings.
think he was
I play-
starstruck too.
But he wasn't even starting then. So I get where all this is. Just follow where I'm going.
Okay,
Hey,
I'm
real
So,
talk.
following. I'm
so he's
following.
playing with Chris Carter, Randy Moss, Dante Culpepper as the quarterback. This and that.
Dante.
Everybody knows Randy. He was better the first 3 years,
Oh,
way
my
better
gosh.
than I was. But I was trending. I was the the guy coming up
You
in the
had
rank.
that third chakra energy.
Coming. It was coming. My third chakra was activating.
That's
He
right.
had only chakra he had was Shaka Khan.
Hey, it was active. It was activating. So he's like,
Shaka
oh
Khan?
yeah. He's like, yo, you
Shaka
you for the
Khan? Shaka
90s,
Khan?
number 81. He's like, yeah. And then he's like, can I get your autograph? I was like, come on, dude, really? And I was like, so we didn't go there, but
I tell you what,
But-
that's the best you've ever told that lie. That's the
like
the
he
funniest
knows
you've ever
this
told
but
that lie.
so we ended up exchanging information. He went to Langston, and then
Oh, you had a little event out there.
had an event, and then
LU?
Yeah. Then where was it? What was the basketball game
In
at?
Oklahoma, at Langston University.
in Oklahoma.
Oklahoma,
So that was
yeah.
when I first met Randy. He was obviously superstar athlete, super stud. And then literally, like I said, we've been friends ever since.
Yeah.
No lie.
That's like
ever
25
since.
years ago.
Wow.
Now I'll give you my version off camera because that lie he just told
Okay.
was some bull crap.
That was a lie?
David was very passionate about this.
I don't think
though.
I've ever gotten anybody's autograph. Come to think of it,
Really?
have you
Nah.
ever gotten an autograph? I don't think I've ever asked for anybody's autograph.
I think I have maybe once or twice.
Have you ever got anybody's?
I
You're in LA. You've never got one
I'm
person's
actually
autograph.
not in LA. Thank God. Please do not say that blasphemous thing.
Okay.
I am in Newport Beach.
Oh my goodness! I thought she was gonna say Detroit.
The
I
land
mean, yeah, that's
Of
LA.
the right
That is LA.
wings, conservative.
It's
not
all the
this
same.
wild stuff
You're
that
in
goes on
Southern
down there.
California.
I am. I'm an
Okay.
OC.
Okay.
The land of
OC.
the MILFs, as I like to call it.
So-
I
so-
didn't know that was a thing, but okay.
You didn't know that?
I didn't know.
Land of the MILFs?
It is the land of the MILFs. That's why I'm allowed, so when we were talking about Larsa and them, I just want to touch on that for a moment.
Oh, I'm gonna throw up.
We're just that.
Why not? This is a
That
hot
it's-
topic,
no, this
man.
is
She was
a-
on a Tamara Hall show. We're going to try to get her on the Getcha Popcorn Ready podcast. If I can get that. What?
No.
What?
Why? Why
do
wouldn't
that.
you have her on?
Man.
That'd be awesome.
Because I don't want to get into the gossip social media
it's
world.
just,
It's just
here's
not
the
what I
thing
do.
that I don't really
Why is
like.
it gossip?
Because see, we're gossiping about it. Number one.
No, we're
number two.
We're
discussing.
not. I'm
It's not
talking about
gossiping, we're just
the
discussing.
age appropriateness and how it's okay.
There is no
for
age
men to-
appropriateness.
Well, that's why she's getting this much of a hard time.
No, that's not why.
Because,
That is
no,
not
when
why. It has
I was-
nothing to do with the
listen,
age.
I
It
can
has
tell
nothing to do
you,
with her
I'm,
age.
What-
I'm
what
40,
does it have to do with it?
41 maybe.
If you're going to be a little bit loyal to anyone who you really loved in your life, you are not going to cross that boundary even by the slightest. And for you have daughters. You never even thought about one of your friends dating your daughter. That would be absolutely
sure
disgusting.
he's not
and
trying to go there in his mind.
But neither is him, and neither
Yeah,
is
he-
Scotty. And
I
for,
know, but
for
if
that
it
to
was
just
a
happen-
guy, this would not be happening. For instance, when I dated the Barbers, they were both 15 years younger, 15 and 16.
They're 15 years old. You're going to jail.
You're very flattering, my love. But I'm 41, and so one was 25 and one was 26. I got it out of my system. I'm good. But there were people that were giving me so much hell for
You
dating
got me
younger
stuck on that.
guys.
Somebody dating my daughter, bro.
Yeah,
Yes, but that's what it.
Bro, you got me
Yeah,
stuck. I'm
However,
flabbergasted right
if
now.
it's T.O. dating someone that's 15 years younger, then he's the man.
Nothing to do with the age. I'm telling you, it has
just
nothing to
don't-
do with the age.
I
It is
don't
the
think-
circle that we're in. Players don't sleep with other players' wives, obviously. Has it
Well,
happened
we
in
would-
locker rooms? Absolutely. But
Has
we're
it
not going to
happened?
get on TV and go talk about it. And again,
Well,
for
why
her
wouldn't you?
to because for her to go out and flaunt it around like this is okay, it's not okay. That's the whole problem that I have with the issue. Yes, he's an adult, and yes, she's an adult. But again, there's certain lines you don't cross, and I just think that you're crossing the line regardless. Oh, this is my friend. You're in love. Like, come on, we know what it is. Stop playing.
I mean, but why couldn't it be that?
But
So you don't
it's not
think it was-
allowed to be that.
So you don't think it's truly a friendship that turned romantic?
Ooh, a friendship that turned romantic.
Yeah, like why couldn't it have been that? Because people
Because you
said
don't
this-
cross that line. You just don't. Yeah, there's lines you don't cross.
I think this is bigger if it was a guy and a girl. I think the fact that it's a woman What, are you still tripping on your daughters, or what's happening?
Man, yeah, man, I'm
Okay.
just tripping all
All right,
over the
all right.
place,
Just
man.
relax. Let's get,
He threw me
want me to
for a
breathe
loop
with
with
you
that
for a
one,
minute? Do you
dog.
want me to
Because you just don't.
we
you
can
don't
do some
that.
breath
dog.
work on camera if you want.
Bro,
Do you
you
want
just threw me for a loop.
Is T gonna come to one of your things?
I don't know.
One
Are you
of your,
gonna
one of
come?
your
I've never, honestly.
you need
Let's
to
talk
go.
about the mutual friend that
Yeah,
we have
yes,
in common
yes.
that I
Okay,
did
okay.
that I didn't know that we had in common.
Okay.
So I was
now
on a-
who's a
I'm-
mutual friend?
So her name is Psalm, like the
PSAL.
like the Bible,
Like the Bible.
Psalm.
Okay.
Isadora. And so I met her on a dating app. We met. First time I met her, we went to Starbucks or something in Brentwood, breakfast spot in the area. We obviously stayed connected and went on a couple of more dates. Went to Mr. Nice Guy. It's super, super beautiful girl. And the more and more we talked, I got into kind of what she did. And so obviously, she started telling me she was into the Tantra.
Tantra stuff.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
so-
Okay.
And then, so I didn't really know much about it. And so obviously I figured, okay, if I'm getting to know her, then let me just do a little research or what have you. And then she sent me a few things about it. And then I'm like, oh, this is some really deep stuff.
Right.
So
It's
then
deeper than the surface.
It's so
yeah.
much. You
Right,
can't,
so then you start
can't
talking
talk about it in one podcast.
Right, yeah. So then you start talking about and finding out, like she said, there's intimacy and there's sex. And so I'm like, okay, so obviously I'm going beyond our first few dates, meetings, whatever.
Right,
We didn't
right.
have sex or anything like that. And I'm like, okay, now I'm trying to think ahead. I'm like, okay.
We gotta get your mind right.
Right, if we do have
What
sex,
am I
like,
doing? Got to get my chakras aligned.
right, exactly. What do I have to do? Because I'm like, yo, surely she's more experienced in
Experienced
this
than you.
space than I am. And I'm like, okay, well,
That's hard. That's hard.
to navigate. So I'm like, okay, if I have sex with her and it's not what
She gonna talk bad about me.
Right, is she gonna think I'm bad? You know what I mean? Am I gonna fall into one of those categories? What is it? Small, medium, large? What is the other ones?
That's it. Small, medium, large.
Horse, rabbit, whatever.
Yeah. Well, stallion is the
Yeah,
big
yeah,
one.
yeah.
Right, so give me the three. If
Okay,
you know.
so is stallion, bull, and then mare.
Mare,
Yeah.
I
stallion,
don't know what
and
a
bull.
mayor is.
Mare is like a type of maybe like a little.
Governor.
Someone look it up, like a
Like
donkey
a small, so
or
it's like
something.
basically-
donkey.
right,
A
so
little
in
horse,
an
yeah.
essence, just like I said, small to
You don't know
lamest
which
term,
one. Right, right.
Small, medium, large.
Right.
So at the end of the day,
These
at the
are
end of
Kama
the day-
Sutra animals, y'all.
at the
back
end
in
of the day,
day.
I don't feel like I've had any complaints, just FYI.
Right.
But I'm kind of foreshadowing. I'm like, okay, I was kind of nervous to be in this environment because I'm like, what do I need to do? Because we start talking about breathing techniques and things of that
I was
nature.
just going to do some breathing with you for a minute ago because you were tripping.
Right, because this is something, again, they
breathing is part
practice
of
and
it.
they teach or what
Breathing
have you.
is 90% of it.
And did Psalm tell you the breathing was part of it?
Yeah, she mentioned a lot of that, and I I started reading up on it too,
Gotcha.
and then as she said, it's over what is it? You go over to travel to Indonesia, India,
India.
or whatever, and there's some what are the teachers called over there? Like the
Gurus?
yeah, the gurus they teach it over there. So she was traveling over there, obviously, like I said, really trying to become masterful in this, in this space.
Yeah.
So I
It's a
felt
lot.
like going to I've never been nervous like something like first time having sex. You don't know what to do.
You're
And
trying
I'm
to
like,
impress
what?
her. You try to
Right.
impress
So
her.
again, we never really got to explore and get into the whole breathing techniques,
practice,
but we discussed it a few times. And there's, like I said, there's a sad part of this because we kind of, disconnected for a little bit, for about a year. Again, she started to travel to obviously to practice more. And she had gone to India and, to obviously, discover these new practices to obviously so she could become, expand her teaching.
Right.
And I didn't talk to her for a while. I remember Ray Lewis had come in town and he had an event in Santa Monica. We was at this event. And then I had gone on a date with Sam at Mr. Nice Guy.
Mm-hmm.
So at this event, I ran into one of the guys that used to do security there. And so he was like, he's like, man, what's up, my man? I didn't know who he was. He's like, oh, I remember you from Mr. Nice Guy. You came in there with Sam. I said, oh yeah. And I'm like, bro, I said, by the way, I said, where is she?
Yeah.
He was like, bro, he said, you didn't hear? I'm like, nah. She's like, she committed suicide. She died.
Wow.
I said, what?
That was your girl?
Well, I knew
Yo.
her through Keith Mitchell.
Bro, it floored me, bro. I went back to my text messages, and I literally had been trying to get in touch with her for months. And I wondered why. I know she had traveled one time. She hit me back. She goes, "Oh, I'm traveling." Blah blah blah. A couple of months had passed, and I was trying to hit her up, and I didn't hear from her. So an entire 8 to 12 months, I had been trying to reach her. I run into this guy. He goes, "Yo, she died." So as soon as I left the event, I went home. Bro, this is gonna give you goosebumps. Mm-hmm. I went home. I got on the internet. I started Googling. Entered her name. Bro, she committed suicide on March 26th. I looked at my text. I texted her on March 27th. Bro, on March 27th, I texted her the day after she had committed suicide.
Wow.
And
you knew her too?
I knew
Like
her through
that?
Keith Mitchell.
So Keith Mitchell obviously
he
played
had worked with
NFL
he had worked
football
with her.
player, played with the New Orleans Saints. He's now into obviously.
He's a tantra. Well, he's a tantra. He teaches. He's worked with the best tantra masters in the world, the women's ones. But his claim to fame is more mindfulness, and that's really what he teaches.
Yoga-based.
Yoga
Yoga-based.
and breath work.
Right.
A lot of breath work. So I met Keith when I was actually still in Thailand training on LinkedIn, believe it or not. And he was started to become curious with Tantra. And I think at that time he was working with Sam or had just met her. And so then he said, well, let's link up when you come back. I'd love to work together, And so when I came back, I had my son. When I came back from Thailand, I had my son, and he was just pregnant with his child. And so we worked together maybe in 2017. And then we started doing retreats during COVID, and we just were doing so well. We were selling every retreat during COVID. It was wild. We just realized how much people really wanted intimacy. And so during that time, he'd always talked about Psalm and things like that. And so I knew of her from him.
Yeah.
And she was maybe 10 years older than me, and 10 years, she had done what I did 10 years before me, right? So I looked up to her. You guys look up to certain players, right? And I was always and Keith would tell me, okay, you got to do this. Don't be so hippie. When Psalm came back, she was a hippie too. You can't do that shit.
So she was to her
Yes.
I am to you.
Correct. That's right.
You looked up to me. I mean, you Googled.
What do you mean correct? Don't you be agreeing with that?
So
Just trying to help you out, dog. To let you follow the story. You know what I mean?
today. I'm gonna
So
let you
then,
live, buddy.
so then basically Keith had called me whenever it was that 2017 that she passed?
yeah, somewhere around
2017.
that.
My son was real young, and he had just had his kid. I think she was a year younger than my son, maybe a year and a half, and he's just called me hysterical. He's
Bro,
Psalm died,
Because it's it was just one of those things, and people how, why,
Right, too soon.
what would make her commit suicide? Bro,
You just
she's
never know.
beautiful.
Yeah.
She was just really starting to get into mainstream, which is the hardest thing to do in this work,
Of course,
because
yeah.
it's so weird.
Yeah.
If you can go mainstream, then you've made it.
Wow.
And so, so
crazy.
Keith is still, a friend of mine. He lives in Mexico, I believe now, but
Well, speaking of mainstream, let everybody know where they can find you, your YouTube channel,
Yeah.
your IG,
Yeah,
and all
yeah.
those things.
Man,
so
appreciate you.
Jennelle Gordon, just like my name on YouTube.
You got to
on
spell that because Jennelle is spelled a number of ways.
Jennelle, so 2 N's, 2 L's, 3 E's. And then on YouTube, Instagram, it's like that. And TikTok is Jennelle Gordon Intimacy. I don't know, is that even going to still be around anymore?
Today.
It is today.
It is today.
It is today. So, that's
Okay.
it.
All right. Well, we appreciate you
Thank you for the
coming
for the lesson.
to Getcha Popcorn Ready podcast.
I'm a Tantrian now.
I feel it. Tantric.
Tantrian? Is that a
It
word?
would be tantric.
Tantric.
No, it's too
Tantric-
close to toxic.
Tantric and tantrika.
Well, you're toxic too.
I feel like
probably.
we barely touched the surface. It's
I'm
no,
pretty sure.
we
There's a
can't-
lot there.
Yeah,
There's
I'll
a
have to
lot
come
there.
back.
Yeah,
I'll
we
have
got to
to
talk
come
about
back.
why alpha men.
Yeah,
get
you
what
guys
they
have
want.
to. You guys have to help me come back.
Are you an alpha male?
I don't even. Alpha male don't even have to answer that.
Okay, all right, well, cool then. Well, we appreciate you,
Peace.
Jennelle.
So much,
Thank you
Steve,
so
for
much
having
for
me. It was so much
blessing
fun.
our show with your
Absolutely.
presence, and hopefully
you.
all the viewers out there, you guys kind of got educated
Yes.
on
Yes.
sex, intimacy, and everything.
And Tantra.
Tantra world.
The
Yes.
Tantra world.
Peace. Get your popcorn ready. Yeet. We out.
Yay.